All right, our next story for you is a CNN News 18 exclusive. This is about NIA, National Investigative Agency. That's going to be taking place. Action on gangsters. The government wants the NIA to take serious action against gangsters. I'm going to read out for you. The government feels gangsters are involved in terror activities, drug smuggling, and weapon supplies in India. Secondly, the gangsters are very much in touch, according to the NIA, with Pakistan-based terror groups and Canada-based Khalistani groups. The government now wants the NIA to carry out a pan-India probe and go internationally wherever necessary and deal these gangsters, deals and blows as per. Treat them basically as one would treat terrorists. Now, they've also asked the NIA to not go soft on them. The government is upset with the emerging nexus between operatives of terrorist outfits. It believes this nexus is a serious threat to the government. These are some of the intel inputs that we have. We're going to very quickly show these to you on a screen. We'll break it down for you. Then we'll connect with a reporter for more about this order coming in from the government. So right here, first on your screen, as we've already told you, largely the government wants the NIA and the Delhi police together to lead these operations. Number two, right after this, gangsters are going to be dealt with, as we already told you, at par with terrorists. That means that the ways in which you see terrorists investigated, the ways in which you see their networks investigated, the government wants the NIA to treat gangsters, the government wants the police to treat gangsters in very, very similar ways. Remember, all of this is being seen post the May killing of the Punjab rapper Sidhu Moosewala, after which the government discovered that Lawrence Bishnoi, who was in a jail in Tihar, had a deep network that was very clear on social media. So a lot of this action we're seeing after that. Over here, proof, it seems, that exists that gangsters are and have been in touch with a number of Pakistani groups, a number of Pakistani handlers. Some gangsters have been linked, as we've already told you, to Khalistani outfits. You might remember in the case of Sidhu Moosewala in particular, this was a strong link that was being investigated by agencies. Terror groups and gangsters, that nexus obviously would then represent a particularly fierce threat to the government and to law enforcement agencies. Now, my colleague Anand Narasimhan is with us live this morning to bring us a lot more context on this story. Anand, thank you so much for joining us this afternoon. For our audiences, could you give us context? Where is this coming from and what are each of the ordinances we've seen come through from the government? Exactly what is the government asking for here?
Well, good afternoon. The fact of the matter is that even in the 90s, when the issue with the Khalistanis happened, when the issue with the Hindu exodus in Jammu and Kashmir happened, across the country where there were issues of social unrest, it was always the network of gangsters that was used. Dawood Ibrahim, even with the 1993 serial blasts and thereafter, even with 2008, the involvement of gangsters or those who are criminals involved in extortion, money laundering, etc., their involvement in smuggling arms into the country and also providing cadre and also ferrying sharpshooters or bomb experts is very clear. It's writ large. So we have to learn from history. The government seems to be wanting to learn from history because it is similar acts that are playing out now, right from Jammu and Kashmir downwards and also from Gujarat to all across the way towards Assam and Manipur and Meghalaya. The story is very clear that these are criminals and gangs which are operating as far as the drugs network is concerned, as far as the arms smuggling cases network is concerned, or even with the hawala and money laundering is concerned. All of these then become active breeding areas for terrorists to combine ranks with or use these networks for getting whatever they want to perpetrate absolute unrest and mayhem and anarchy in society. Gangsters are also involved in creating acts of social unrest. The entire dynamics of terror is also changing. The arrest of 4 or 5 gangsters with IEDs, tiffin box IEDs, with cash and with drugs in Punjab, the entire Sidhu Moosewala murder, the entire nexus of those who are involved or who are being caught in Jammu and Kashmir with short arm fire, who are aiming at security personnel and civilians, all involved with certain nefarious gangs or having criminal antecedents. How Lawrence Bishnoi was operating from Tihar jail, the fact that huge amounts of ganja and charas was caught from gangsters who were smuggling it, and they crashed into a yatra party or a religious procession in Chhattisgarh. Similar instances emerging from Jharkhand. All of this is testimony that criminals, those who are anti-socials, these are involved in these kind of activities. The smuggling of arms also happens because these are criminals who want to carry and who want to possess these arms and these weapons. And with them, drugs come in, with them, the terrorist network gets activated. So at various levels, gangsters need to be treated at par with terrorists. That's the diktat that's coming from the Home Ministry, and they want the NIA to take serious cognizance and leave no stone unturned in trying to quell, quash, and eliminate all sorts of gangster networks. The moment these gangster networks pipe down or they are neutralized, automatically the level of social unrest, level of lawlessness, anarchy, and support to terrorist modules also comes down. There seems to be a direct correlation, and this has also been proven with some countermeasures that have been taken in some of the states in our country.
All right, Anand, if you could also provide our audiences with more context on one particular feature of what we've just discussed, that possible nexus between terror groups and gangsters. I think that's a particular point of interest for audiences watching right now. Could you explain?
Well, what happens is, let's look at the history. Dawood Ibrahim, Indian national who got sheltered in Pakistan, and he was the one who's orchestrated and is responsible for providing drugs, providing ammunition, providing cash, and also providing cadre for perpetrating attacks on Indian soil against the Indian state and against the Indian people. Now, this is a gangster turned a criminal gangster who's then turned rogue and also turned terrorist. A similar network currently exists with gangsters operating out of Canada, openly in cahoots with Khalistani bent of people and individuals who are using these networks in India. The same networks are also being harbored and favored by the Pakistanis who are once again trying to reactivate the K2 principle. K2 is Kashmir and Khalistan. And it is evident for us to see. If you look at the drugs network, Lakshadweep, where huge amounts of Lakshadweep up the coast, where huge amounts of drugs or narcotics were caught. Those were again gangsters who were operating, and they were using Lakshadweep as a hub, but also to percolate and to send in drugs into the Indian territory. And these drugs were entering which place? The coastal areas of Kerala and Karnataka, and also some of them going all the way around and even into Tamil Nadu. Once again, what are we seeing? Anarchy, social unrest, funding which is happening, with the Kerala Christian forums coming out and claiming that there is narco jihad that is happening. So drugs are being used to lure impressionable young women and by those who have a pan-Islamist bent, or with the intent to radicalize them or to force them into doing acts which are against the interest of society. So this is a pattern which you can see from Jammu and Kashmir, like I said, downwards till Kerala, from Gujarat and all the way up across on the northeast up to Manipur, Meghalaya and Mizoram. So it is very clearly evident, and that's why this has been taken so seriously, that anybody who's involved in a drug network, in an arms smuggling network, in a hawala or money laundering network, they are all supposed to be treated as criminals, as gangsters. Any group of gangsters who are coordinating with each other, they need to be treated as terrorists, at par with terrorists, because they are all against the interest of society, against the interest of India, and they can cause huge dent and damage to the internal security of India. A guy like Lawrence Bishnoi and a Goldie Brar, one sitting in Canada, Lawrence Bishnoi sitting in Tihar, and they had a network of nearly 300 to 500 gangsters. They were connected with more than 60 of the gangs which are operating in Punjab. More than 77 gangs are operating currently in just one state, that is Punjab. So imagine the kind of mayhem and anarchy they can unleash. They can walk around as civilians and they can go ahead and perpetrate. They have also perfected their modus operandi. They don't commit acts of crime in the areas where they reside. They go to the neighboring districts, neighboring states, commit acts of crime, and then come back to the area that they reside. So they seem to have perfected all of this, and that's the reason why the government is wanting to take this very, very seriously and telling the NIA, go ahead and crack down and deal with them as terrorists.
Okay, Anand.